Erpin's worried about all of the extra recording you're doing here for cast iron balls and brains, suggesting somehow that it might interfere and that you are somehow being disloyal to the Biffler because of that. Which, the fact that I didn't enforce the non-compete against you going and fucking joining some other fucking podcast after you had already been contractually obligated.
You don't have a non-compete or any kind of contract.
It's not even like a part-time job. The other one is like a volunteer gig I do on the side.
That's what this is.
I do it so infrequently.
Here we are, Abe Cast Iron Balls, a podcast about sports. You know, sports, where grown-ass men paid $10 million a year to be in charge of young adults only just coming into their own, can fly off into a frothing rage and bulldoze the opposing quarterback with no consequences. My name is Bob, sitting across the way from my good friend and co-host. That's Abe. How you doing tonight, Abe?
Doing well, Bob.
Yeah, here we are. Lori's here, too. How you doing tonight, Lori?
I'm doing fine.
Lori's doing fine. Tonight is Thursday, October 17th, 2024. Nobody's birthday, but it feels like a birthday.
No, but it's almost Brian's birthday.
It's a half birthday for one brother. It's nearly Brian's birthday. October 17th feels consequential for some reason, but it is
half a
in
birthday.
fact not.
Wow. I didn't know that was a thing.
Abe, it is time to live bet the games. We've got...
Oh, yeah. I don't even know who's playing, actually.
An important matchup in the NFL tonight.
Can I just say first, the Jets, they failed me on Monday. I thought they were going to pull it out.
They sure did fail you. We've got the Broncos at the Saints. We are just a minute to go in the first quarter. I won't reveal anything beyond that. Abe is completely in the dark when it comes to this game.
Is Bo Nix playing?
I don't know if I can give you that information or not. Let me check. Yes, confirm. This is a Bo Nix v. Spencer Rattler affair.
Neat.
Because actually, I don't know why. I guess Derek Carr is injured in some fashion. I can't imagine that if Derek Carr were able to stand upright, that Spencer Rattler would be quarterbacking this game. So I assume Derek Carr is in traction somewhere.
Ooh, this is a tough one. I'm gonna go with the home team, the Aints, the Saints.
All right, with again, I just want to be clear. They're being quarterbacked tonight by former South Carolina Gamecock Spencer Rattler.
Also former Oklahoma Sooner, right?
Information received, Bob.
All right, going with the Saints. You were approaching 500, Abe.
The season's early. I'm gonna get to 500.
6-8 coming into tonight, and now picking Spencer Rattler. Rattler was a bit of a headache for the Dogs. I mean, I don't think we ever lost to him, but he always seemed to have a good performance against us.
Yeah, at least one game. Did he have multiple of those?
Did we lose one game to Spencer Rattler?
We didn't lose to Spencer Rattler.
We lost in didn't we lose in 2019 to South Carolina?
Yeah, he wasn't playing for them then, was he?
I don't know. That feels like a Spencer Rattler kind of Gamecocks 2019. Let's look that up.
I'm doing it.
What are you drinking there, Abe? It looked like some sort of orange juice concoction.
It's some sort of mango thing. It's not very good.
Alcoholic mango thing?
No.
Or just,
it's like I was at Trader Joe's and they had this on sale. So I was like, oh, let me give it a go. That's why I went on sale, because it's not very good.
Abe, you're not one to come. This is now 2 episodes in a row. You despised the Skyline chili so much that it made you angry at a statue, which is not like you.
That's right.
And then now you're drinking a mango drink, and you're like, it's not for me. It's just very much not like you.
Quarterback for South Carolina who beat Georgia was Ryan Helinski.
Wow, I would have never gotten that.
What year was that?
2019.
It was 2019.
Wow.
I guess it was not yet the Rattler era.
No. We're in 2024 now. This is his rookie year in the NFL.
How is it possible that it's his rookie year?
But
was he there last year?
He was at Oklahoma last year.
Maybe that's what's throwing me off.
But some of these quarterbacks get these like red shirts and they play for like 20 years. That are like,
Did he start for Oklahoma last year? No, because he was behind Dylan. He was behind
the Gabriel guy.
Yeah, wasn't he behind Dylan Gabriel at Oklahoma, presumably?
Hold
so
on.
he went there just to ride the bench?
No, he went to Oklahoma in 2019. He transferred to South Carolina in 2022.
Okay.
This is starting to make more sense now.
Okay.
So he was at South Carolina 22 through 23?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It felt like the Rattler era was longer than that, but maybe not.
He was just pretty good.
Yeah.
That's why they're
he's
gonna
no
win.
Diego Pavia.
No.
No, but nobody is.
Anyway, explain yourself. What's wrong with your? Why are you interacting with the world in such negative fashion?
No, it's just like
The world provides, Abe, whether it's Skyline Chili or Trader Joe's Mango Sport Drink or whatever it is you're drinking.
I'm generally set in my ways. I get the same things. I drink the same stuff. And so I've been trying other things, and it's proving my point. Stay in
This is making
the
me.
lane.
It's making me very nervous about the next time
what's
we get
wrong?
together.
What's wrong, Abe?
If we get together and I give you something you haven't had before and you don't like it, I don't know what I'll do with myself.
This is a very small sample. Most of the things that I've tried, I'm like, that's not that bad. It's just, I just like regular water. I don't like when people mix other things with the water.
I was just saying, as I sat down here tonight, I took a sip of my just plain tap water, nice and cold, filtered out of the Brita in the fridge. And it's the first time today that I've had just plain water, it feels like.
Why, though? Why don't you just drink water?
I mean, that's not true. I had at least 3 pint glasses of plain water this afternoon, now that I think about it. But in the intervening hours, I was drinking the electrolyte Squirtle in my water. Yeah. And this plain water is very refreshing all of a sudden here at 9 o'clock at night.
Can't go wrong with water.
The Saints are losing 3-0 currently at the start of the second quarter.
Easily surmounted. Did either of you catch the Liberty game yesterday?
The what now?
No, Bob was watching baseball instead of football.
It was this WNBA Finals, Game 3. Very solid game. Maybe given it short shrift all this time. There was
Did you watch the game?
I caught the fourth quarter, and the Liberty was down. They were down 15 points.
What time was this? What time was this?
I don't know what time it was. It was a couple of days ago.
Surely there was baseball on, or football, or literally anything else. Preseason NBA.
They play below the rim, but other than that, not too bad.
It sounds like a ringing endorsement to me.
Fundamentals.
Let's open up the WGAS NewsSportsBag. It's time for Who Gives a Shit Sports News. Alert, according to the New York Times on my phone, along with ESPN and other outlets, Tony Bennett, UVA men's basketball coach, to retire tomorrow morning at 55 years old. He won a national title with the Virginia Cavaliers here in 2019, playing a very unpleasant brand of basketball, the opposite of what the Warriors do, where they just run around like crazy and hoist threes from all over the floor, which is the modern NBA. The Cavs try to extend possessions to shorten the game so that there are far fewer possessions for each team. So you regularly see them in games that were 55 to 48 or something like that. Yeah. Just absolute thrillers. And oftentimes you might tune into a UVA game and it would be approaching halftime and each team would have 15 points. And it's just, wow, what have I missed by not watching this god-awful sport? And not a lot of scoring anyway.
Right. Is there there's still no update as to why the sudden announcement? Because
maybe we'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah. Hopefully it's nothing negative news,
It's probably negative.
Yeah, because when it read whatever effective immediately, it's wow, not even a song and dance. He won a title. There's no good job, buddy. There's nothing.
And the only two things I can think of are that either he's had an affair, and in order to save his marriage, he's going to quit his job or something. Or he's got some really terrible cancer that is eating him alive.
My thought was either cancer or he did something real bad.
But if he did something real bad, it wouldn't be he's retiring effective immediately, as in during a press conference in which he will speak at 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Right.
It would be Virginia has cut ties with their head men's basketball coach.
Unless the people agreed to not say anything, if he just fucked off.
And it's not that bad, right? If he did a murder, or
being a creep.
Or he did a Me Too.
Yeah, doing a Me Too.
At Virginia, they wouldn't just let him fucking go without saying anything. You kidding? It would be.
I think exactly here is where they would let that go.
No, absolutely not. If he did a Me Too in some fashion, it would be, we are cutting ties immediately with this guy.
Could you add to your contract? Because, these coaches in mostly football, but in big time basketball also, they command a lot of money and they get all their money even if they suck. Like, could they also have some stipulation to say, like, if I'm going to get shit canned, it has to be resigned effective immediately, like the nice way out? Like, you can't say that I've been fired. I wonder if you could add that to your contract. I bet you these coaches could.
So you put anything in there.
You're a good lawyer. You can do anything.
Yeah.
All right. We didn't talk about this on Thursday. Moving on from the men's college basketball coaching concerns. Kirby Smart on the sideline. I did not catch this live. I don't know where my attention was.
You were there.
I just don't remember it happening, or it wasn't.
I remember it.
It wasn't worthy of like getting filed away, or I guess if I did notice it happen,
that's more appropriate.
Right.
It wasn't worthy of getting filed away.
And then it turned into a thing because at some point during the game, the opposing quarterback for Mississippi State, Michael Van Buren Jr., who's a true freshman, I believe, maybe a redshirt freshman. I don't know. He's a freshman of some account. And he ended up on the Georgia sideline after a play, like he runs out of bounds or what have you. And Kirby was super mad about something, like a blown coverage, or he saw something and he needed to talk to his defensive coordinator, Dan Schumann, very quickly and loudly. And
immediately.
So he ran over to where Schumann was, and in the process, kind of bodied.
Oh yeah, the assault. Yeah.
He just shouldered him out of the way.
Right, he bodied Michael Van Buren Jr. I mean, I don't know, is this just a shoulder? Let's take a look at the video here.
Unwanted touching. Is Van Buren from Martin Van Buren legacy or some other?
Yes, the president.
Okay.
I mean, in Bubba
direct lineage,
Bubba Gump fashion, I'm not sure those two are relations, but
it's racist. He just shoves him.
I mean, he extends the elbow. So
look at the thuggery! Wow.
Do you remember there was a call on, there was some offensive pass interference. I forget which game, but there was a big, maybe it was the Ohio State Oregon game. I don't know, but there was a slightly controversial
Ohio State Oregon
OPI where the offensive guy runs out just past the 5-yard mark and extends both arms, and the DB gets flown back another 2 or 3 yards, and so he creates space, he turns around, and he catches the ball. Kirby absolutely extends the arms in order to create space.
Yeah, and if he were trying to prevent that guy from catching a ball, then it'd be like, yeah, obviously he meant to do that. But he was just going to... He was just shoving him out of the way.
But did he know that? So in your mind,
No.
does he know that he's shoving the opposing team's quarterback?
No. I mean, he is accidentally shoving the opposing team's quarterback. He is shoving accidentally the opposing team's quarterback. He is purposefully shoving someone.
You know how,
and it is whoever it is in his way.
In a news conference Monday, Smart said he didn't realize he had pushed Van Buren until watching the film of the play after the game. Smart said he called Lebby, which is the opposing team's coach, on Saturday night, and Van Buren the next day. I went back and watched it. Smart said, I didn't even realize that I had run into him.
Absolutely, I have, and I'm glad you brought that up, because after you guys said that in the press conference, I went back and watched it, and didn't even realize that I had run into him. But I reached out to Levy that night and talked to him, and he said the kid was great. And then yesterday I talked to Mike and told him, I had no intentions or ill will towards him at all. It was, if you've ever been on the sideline in a game, it's pandemonium. It's really pandemonium when you're trying to change personnel and you only got 3 to 4 seconds to do it. And we were bad off in a bad personnel grouping against empty that we actually had messed up the week before. And so I was trying to get to Schumann to get that changed. But I reached out to the kid. He was great. He's a really good player. He's going to be a good player in this league, and he played better as the game went on against us.
He said he was trying, I think I said Dan Schumann earlier. It's Glenn Schumann. He was trying to get Glenn Schumann's attention when Van Buren ran into his path. If you've ever been on the sideline, it's pandemonium, Smart said Monday. It's really pandemonium when you're trying to change personnel, and you've only got 3 to 4 seconds to do it. We were bad off in a bad personnel grouping, and I was trying to get to Schumann to get that changed. No penalty was thrown. There's a look of, like, look at the ref here. Like, there's a ref right there. And the ref kind of gives him a whoa, like he kind of gives him a what are you doing there? He could have easily thrown a flag on him and chose not to, because you certainly cannot, as SEC commissioner, what's his face,
Greg
Sankey said, we cannot be in a situation where we've got coaches making physical contact with players of the other team. I mean, of any player really should not be enduring physical interaction with their coach on the sideline, but especially when it's the other team's coach. Abe, what do you think happened here?
So you know how we get into the stupid position where, like in a football game, the receiver catches a ball and immediately fumbles the ball, and they're like, "Is that like? Did he do enough football things to constitute like a?"
Was there a football move?
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so, I in this case, was there enough move for it to be a push? And to me, it wasn't like an incidental contact. This was. He got towards him, and then his arm kind of like touched him and pushed him out of the way. So like maybe he had tunnel vision and he was like focused on his coordinator, but like that was a push. That was not like a incidental like, ooh, I stumbled into you. This was like, get the fuck out of my way. He may not have realized it was a quarterback. It was just like some player on the other side. Like, get the fuck out of here, guy. Like I'm. It
wasn't a failure of Kirby's to call behind as he moves past someone in the back kitchen of a restaurant. Right? Like he was coming up on Schumann.
Yes.
All of his attention on Schumann.
Yeah.
And then he happens to encounter like a potential hip check coming in from the side, and he's like, "I will not be hip checked away from my DC," and he fucking bows out on him. I believe Kirby that he did not realize in the moment. Yeah. That he was shoving the quarterback of the opposing team.
He wouldn't do that.
Right, obviously. Right. But also, I think I made a GIF of Kirby, I think from 2016 or maybe 2017, when he's on the sideline. I don't know which game it was during. It doesn't matter. He's got a headset on, but he gets so mad, and he's screaming at DeAndre Baker. And
he's upset.
It's so good. Hang on. I'll make sure that there's a link to my GIF in the show note, obviously. Go to brainiron.substack.com in order to see what I'm talking about.
A lot of work you're making people do.
No, it's worth it. You just click the button, and you see Kirby screaming hate at DeAndre Baker. Anyway, Kirby's just fucking out of his mind.
Person.
He gets right into DeAndre Baker's face, and he's just like doing the war face at him, like just screaming bloody murder war face at him. And like that was the Kirby that we were getting in 2016, 2017 all the time. Just absolute frothing rage. I was going to
say, he's calmed down significantly since then.
Not this year, though. And that's sort of what we're getting at with this conversation, is that, like, I think he feels like he was able to be relatively calm for Kirby still means like he probably needs to pay somebody $75,000 a year to put a leash on his belt to keep him from running out onto the field half the time. But yes, he had calmed, relatively speaking, the last couple of years. But this year, and I think the best evidence of it is this attempted shove, or this actual shove of Van Buren on the sideline last week. That's not an excuse that says, oh, okay, yeah, fine. Like, actually, for a person who's paid $10 or $11 million a year, the highest paid employee of the state by a lot, and someone who's supposed to be in charge of a program that brings in $100 million a year or what have you, he's in charge of 100-odd young men and a whole staff of other people at Buttsmere, and he's going to lose his mind so thoroughly that he doesn't realize that he's coming into contact with the opposing player and shoving him violently out of the way just so that he can shout at Glenn Schumann about making sure that we get into the right personnel grouping for the next play, while, by the way, the opposing quarterback is still on our sideline. Right? Like, I know it's pandemonium, but you've got a few seconds to figure it out. You don't have to be...
That's not the attitude. I don't think you have a few seconds. I like urgency.
Also, he's so situationally aware of the bad package out on the field. Like, he's aware of what's going on, but just like this person just got in the way. Like, get the fuck out of here, guy. Like, I think it was just that. Just like, it wasn't like because he's the quarterback. Just like, get out of here. I'm trying to talk to my guy about this package.
Yeah, probably didn't think it was an opposing player. Like, it's just thing in my way. Get out
Yeah,
of
I
my
know.
way.
Yeah, I
thing
agree.
In my way.
I'm granting all of that.
I know.
There was something in the way of him and Glenn Schumann, and it didn't fucking matter what it was because he was out of his goddamn mind on the sideline. And I'm saying that's the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is not that he shoved the Mississippi State quarterback who happened to be in his way, which isn't great. The problem is that he's completely out of his goddamn mind on the sideline instead of in, like, this is composure and physicality, guy. Where's the composure?
Right.
Kirby, there's no composure here. You've completely lost it. All the way on the we're all the way on the physicality end of the composure and physicality balance spectrum here, man. Chill out.
If you were surrounded by incompetence, you'd be upset too. Like, what are you doing? Figure it out.
What the fuck do you think we're doing around here every week when I
was
start
going to say,
screaming?
I am surrounded by incompetence, and I run through the salon like a fucking maniac all the time because nobody else does anything right.
Yeah.
Either way, if there had been some sort of discipline coming down from the SEC or from someone, and certainly if it had happened during the game, I don't think Kirby could have complained about it very much. He's very fortunate to not be dealing with the consequences of this week any more than he has.
To that point, has any coach been flagged for incidental contact? I mean, remember there was it Mike Tomlin who pretended he was looking up at the screen and he like tripped?
Mike Tomlin tried to trip a dude, right? Like he went into the field of play and like stuck his leg out, I think, on on a kick return or something.
Was that Jacoby Jones or somebody? I don't know who it was, but there was some receiver. Yeah, there was something was happening. But if you could see him, like he's like positioning himself, like pretending he's not aware of what's going on. But I don't even think he got. I mean, he got a lot of flack. But
there was a college coach that got involved with a play at some point.
Someone.
Wait, what?
Like on purpose.
Like a coach punched somebody?
Oh, yes.
Oh, wow.
Woody Hayes.
Oh, wow. That's going back.
Clemson intercepts.
Oh, yeah.
Ohio State, 1978. Woody Hayes fucking goes berserk on the guy. Just a throat punch. It's good stuff. Not exactly LeGarrette Blount was Woody Hayes, but
No one is that. Nothing is ever that.
What do you do as a 19-year-old and some old coach that's like well respected by others does that to you? Like,
well, and that was the question
right in the fucking balls. What do you mean?
On the podcasts this week was like, what if the player had retaliated? Like,
then there would have been pandemonium.
Obviously the flag would have been. Yes, exactly.
You know, it's weird. By the way, Bob,
nice of that president to not do that.
Usually, police, when people say "Oh, this wasn't apocalyptic," what was the thing you took umbrage with? This was not pandemonium. Yeah. This was just a sideline action. You know, if there was a punch return,
pandemonium in his head, and I understand that.
Yeah.
All right, moving along here from Kirby's violences on the sideline. The NCAA has issued a rule change after Oregon's late 12-man penalty drained time off the clock versus Ohio State. As we discussed on Monday, an actual Dan this time, Dan Lanning out there in Oregon, took credit on a Monday press conference after we believed that this was, if it was intentional, that they would play it coy. He all but confirmed. He did not exactly confirm, but he
pretty
in
much,
my mind, listening to and watching his clip, very much looked like he was confirming the fact that they had done this on purpose, which was the wrong way to play it, Dan. Although, again,
no, it's not.
If everyone says
you got to do it,
you're being a genius, this was brilliant, and you weren't. You were just you made a mistake. You were in charge of some idiots, and the idiots did the wrong thing. But instead, everyone's like, man, that was brilliant. You can be like, yes, it's not that I'm in charge of idiots and they didn't listen to what I said, but instead they were doing precisely what I said because I am so smart.
That's right.
Then, perhaps you would take credit for that.
Yeah, with your hand-rolled skinny cigarette in your mouth.
Like an old-timey bank robber, you mean?
Bank robber. Yeah, that was all the plan.
Are they closing the loophole this year or next year?
Right now.
Yeah.
Wow. Done. They did not mess around.
The NCAA sent out a rules memo on Wednesday outlining the new procedures for officials when a team commits a substitution foul inside the final 2 minutes of either half. After the 2-minute timeout in either half, if the defense commits a substitution foul and 12 or more players are on the field and participate in a down, officials will penalize the defense for the foul and, at the option of the offended team, reset the game clock back to the time displayed at the snap. The game clock will then restart on the next snap. If the 12th defender was attempting to exit but was still on the field at the snap and had no influence on the play, then the normal substitution penalty would be enforced with no clock adjustment.
Is that not another loophole?
It does seem like they have closed one loophole only to take the crochet needle and tease out one more loophole.
Because now you just have to just do a performance, right? Like, oh, boy, how did I get here? Let me run out of there.
Right, which itself could just be and this would be closer to the fake injuries thing, right?
Yeah.
Where you just have kids out there trying to cause chaos by, there's too many of us.
Right.
There's just too many of us.
Right.
And it's making the offense like not know how to read the defense or not sure exactly what's going on. And it's going to discombobulate the offense in some fashion. Oh, but he was making an effort in the final moments to run off the field, so we're not going to take any time off the clock. But it seems to me that it could have been addressed without a rule change simply by saying it is within the power of the referee to say this is an intentional abuse of the rules of the game and therefore an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, and we are going to replay the down with no time having come off, but the penalty will be enforced anyway. Something along those lines. That's how you you shut it down. And then all of the even sillier talk about like, well, but what about now they're just going to put 15 people out there and then they'll run 4 off at the very last second in order to not have the time run off. It's like, well, but that's clearly not sporting, right? That would be clearly outside the realm of the rules, and they could be penalized for it.
They should be, yeah.
Good on the NCAA, I suppose, for moving quickly and getting this done now, rather than waiting for the end of the year or something.
But I always thought that there was some sort of thing where, like, once the season starts, you have to kind of go with the rules that you started with.
They're not calling it a rule change; they're calling it like a clarification or something.
Okay.
They're pretending like it's not a rules change in order to change the rules.
So then were the refs then mistaken on Saturday night? Like if this was an existing thing, should the ref not have allowed what Oregon did to happen?
No,
it
Ohio
is a
State
rules
could
change.
have elected.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like, what is this stupid nonsense when you're saying that it's not a rules change?
They do whatever the fuck they want, Abe. Who's going to get mad at them about it? Nobody. Apparently, there was a lot of chatter among the coaching community that this was suddenly going to become like the plan. That this was, if they did not do this right away, because the coaches were like, can we get some clarity on this? Because if this is a thing, we're totally going to do it. And then the ADs are like going to the conference commissioners and being like, we're going to need more clarity here because the coaches are about to pull some bullshit. And so they got together and changed the rules.
Or clarify the rules by changing them.
Right. Yeah. I think that's all I've got in the WGAS news bag.
Looking ahead.
It is now time to figure out what you should be doing with your weekend when it comes to watching college football. It's the best game in every time slot. There are, count 'em, Abe, 4 games on Friday night to choose from. And
bring up the second TV on Friday. Also, do that anyway, because then it's done already on Saturday, and you don't have to bother anyone to do it.
Are you talking very specifically about the situation inside our house, I believe? This is not a common experience for the average listener.
I mean...
Friday night, we've got Florida State at Duke, Oregon at Purdue, Oklahoma State at BYU, and Fresno State at Nevada. It is my contention that though those might well be entertaining games, why don't you just watch some baseball instead? That's what you should do. Yeah.
So not even TV worthy.
I mean, they're fine. Like Florida State at Duke might be close, but that would be kind of a shame if it was. Like, it's not going to be good if it's a close game. It's just Florida State at Duke. And then Oregon at Purdue. Purdue is very bad, and Oregon is very good. So I guess if you want to watch Oregon just because they're good and fun, you could do that. Oklahoma State is a total fucking wild card. Who knows what the fuck's going to happen there?
You have to watch the game to find out.
BYU is pretty good, and they're favored by 9 points. I guess you could watch that. I guess out of all of them, that's the one that I think is most likely to be entertaining is Oklahoma State at BYU. Fresno State at Nevada might be kind of interesting, I guess.
Very late
But
start.
not because
10 o'clock.
Yeah, late start. 10 o'clock for Oklahoma State, BYU, and 10:30 for Fresno State, Nevada. But like I said, there's 2 Major League Baseball playoff games on Friday, I believe.
I think there's also the game forward, the WNBA.
I'm sorry, the what? On Friday, you're going to have Los Angeles at the Mets at 5 o'clock, and then New York at the Indians at 8 o'clock. Just watch the baseball. Yeah. We've got championship baseball on. You should just do that instead. Speaking of which, can we get a Major League Baseball score update here in the American League Championship Series? Ooh, Guardians win 7-5 over the Yankees. Wow. Final 10 innings.
No time like the present. Swung out and hammered. High, deep to left. Away, out of here.
The ultimate present under the tree. Oh, my goodness. John Kinsey Noel. The biggest swing of his life.
A tape measure job to the bleachers and left. We are tied at 5. So now, winning run at third, 2 down for David Fry. He's walked and struck out. Anyway at all here. Swung on, hit high, hit deep to left. There she goes.
A walk-off home run. David Fry lights up the Cleveland night.
How about that? A walk-off 2-run home run to the bleachers and left by David Fry. And the magical 2024 season is not done by any means.
All right, so that one will not be a total laugher. That's now 2-1 in favor of the Yankees. Only home teams have won so far. The Dodgers and Mets currently 3-2 Dodgers over the Mets in New York, and that's Los Angeles has a 2-1 lead at the moment. That last night's game turned into a bit of a laugher, but I enjoyed it nevertheless. All right, so Friday night, like I said, watch the Major League Baseball playoffs. Then it is now Saturday afternoon. The noon window has opened because the door has mercifully shut on Pat McAfee and the College Game Day crew. The game to watch at noon is number 6 Miami, minus 4.5 points at Louisville with an over-under of 61.5 points. That's a lot of points. That could be a wildly entertaining game. Miami is coming off a bye after a couple of very close wins over Virginia Tech and Cal that they probably coulda, shoulda, woulda lost, but for referee shenanigans, perhaps. Without the help of the Zebras, maybe Miami's already got 1 or 2 losses. Whereas Louisville very nearly beat Notre Dame in South Bend, lost an exciting game to SMU, and survived a tough game here in Scott Stadium, just 10 minutes down the street, against Virginia last week. I think based on what I've seen out of Miami the last 2 games, that Clemson is very clearly the class of the ACC. That they are way better than this Miami team, which, to their credit, has found a way to win, but I don't think is as good as Clemson is. And Miami is instead extremely lucky to be in this position where they are undefeated. Beating Louisville decisively would be a good way to counter that argument or feeling of mine, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Louisville gets it done at home against Miami, and things get more interesting in the ACC as a result. Second TV at noon. I think the other game to watch, maybe even the better game, is Nebraska plus 6.5 at number 16 Indiana. But I went with Miami just because if Miami is undefeated and in the top 5 or whatever, top 10, you cannot ignore them, right? But
right.
So second TV, Nebraska plus 6.5 at number 16 Indiana. Indiana is surprise, surprise, undefeated. And has scored a metric shit ton of points so far this season.
All of the podcasts this week were interviewing and talking about Kurt Signetti. All of them.
You said that very ethnically. You swallowed the G. You said it as though you were making this thing with your hand as you said it. And you go,
Signetti? Is that how other people say
Everyone
it?
says Signetti, yes.
Oh, that's weird.
Say it again.
Signetti.
Ah, yeah. Signetti. With the ravioli and mozzarella.
Looks like.
Everyone else calls him Kurt Signetti because that's what it says in English. Anyway.
Okay, well, all of the podcasts were talking to him and about him.
They haven't played anyone. Their best win, like you cannot overstate how fucking shitty their schedule has been so far this season. Their best wins are probably their last two, which includes a 42-28 win over Maryland and a 41-24 win over Northwestern, which are two bad teams, as evidenced by the fact that Northwestern just went to Maryland and fucking destroyed them, and Northwestern is no good. Nebraska's only loss is a very tough fought game against Illinois on a Friday night a month ago, or about a month ago, and otherwise unbeaten. This feels like a game. I mean, they're nearly a touchdown underdog, but to me, this feels like a game that Nebraska should win and needs to win in order to justify some of that preseason hype that has now fallen off of the program, even though, again, like they just keep winning games. I mean, they've been in some tough ones, but like Rayola's been good. And besides that Illinois game, they've been very good. So I think Nebraska potentially surprises people and wins this game fairly easily.
How surprising would it be? What's the line?
6.5 points. They're 6.5 point dogs.
Nebraska is?
Yes.
Interesting.
And then the throw up the other game during that window, also at noon, dual box. No need for the quad box at noon, but the double box on the second TV. South Carolina plus 1.5 at Oklahoma. This is similar in that everyone seems to think that South Carolina is going to win this game because Oklahoma stinks. But both defenses have been solid, and I think we're like, if you start talking about South Carolina is going to, because like, what's his name at Oklahoma? Fucking coach's name escapes me at the moment.
Shane Beamer.
No.
Brent Venables.
Yeah. Because Venables at Oklahoma is like everybody's mad at him and he's turned out to be a bum and like maybe we miss Lincoln Riley after all. Like, no, fucking bullshit. This is South Carolina. This is a not very good South Carolina offense that has a halfway decent defense going to Norman, Oklahoma. Get the fuck out of here that South Carolina is going to win this game on the road. This 1.5 points is crazy. Give me Oklahoma all day.
The fact that they're going on the road is concerning, but you don't think the confidence booster of like a close loss to Alabama is
a moral victory against Alabama?
You don't think that's gonna do anything?
South Carolina is not going to Oklahoma and getting a win.
Is this your buddy Jimmy Carter is going to make this a lock?
This is not a preview of anything. I'm just saying South Carolina's not going to Oklahoma and getting a win. All right. The 3:30 game. It is, as Lori likes to say, and many others as well, the third Saturday in October, which means that...
Yeah, that's mostly more people than... It's not...
On this podcast, who is most likely to talk about the third Saturday in October?
I like tradition. Third Saturday in October.
Alabama is traveling to Knoxville, Tennessee, the number 7 team in the land. This shocked me to find out that Tennessee is still ranked number 11. Why is Tennessee ranked number 11? Tennessee is not good. Tennessee lost to Arkansas. Tennessee has looked bad against Florida and not great against Oklahoma. This is not the 11th best team in the country. There's no way. And again, this is another one where like the chatter that I'm hearing and seeing online is like, oh, Tennessee's going to roll. This is going to happen. Alabama's been in trouble against South Carolina. They just lost to Vanderbilt. But that seems to forget the fact that Nico has only looked good. The Tennessee quarterback has only looked good. This offense has only looked good against absolute nobodies in the first 3 weeks of the season. And since then has been largely trash, including that game in Oklahoma where, yes, they won and the final score was what it was, 25-15 maybe or something like that. But by no means did they dominate that game. Oklahoma was in that game just because of their defense. I don't care. Alabama lost to Vandy and almost lost to South Carolina. They are still Alabama, and they are still better than Tennessee.
I mean, they may be better than Tennessee, but this is not Alabama. If they were to lose, it would not surprise me.
It is.
I don't know. I would be surprised if Tennessee figures it out all of a sudden against Alabama after how they've looked the last month. All right, second TV at 3:30. We've got Michigan, still ranked in the top 25 somehow. Minus 3.5 points at number 22, Illinois. Michigan has not looked good on offense at all this year, as everyone knows, and just lost to Washington and has moved on now to their third quarterback of the season in 7th year, Jack Tuttle. They decided that Alex Orji is not good enough. Jack Tuttle is going to get the job done, perhaps. But Illinois, besides a good win against Nebraska, hasn't done much of anything, including very nearly losing to Purdue last week. They got out on Purdue in much the same fashion that Alabama got out on us last week, as you would expect a very good team to do against a very bad team. And then they very nearly lost. They won, I think, 50-49 in overtime. They were up like 30-0 and then had to hang on for dear life only to win it in overtime by a single point.
That's why, like, you're poo-pooing this Oregon-Purdue thing, but Purdue sometimes does this.
No.
And I'm not saying they'll win. I'm saying they,
Purdue is bad, and Purdue's badness is going to be proven by Oregon stomping their ass, and it's going to be further proven by, I think, Michigan getting a win on the road at Illinois. I don't see Illinois hanging on here.
That's interesting. The last 3 games, they sound defeat against Penn State and then 2 overtime wins. So it's like they're barely hanging on to their wins and they lose. This would be a good opportunity for Michigan to win, but we'll see.
Yeah, this feels like I think this is a Michigan win. And then also in that 3:30 window, we've got Notre Dame, number 12 in the country, minus 11.5 points. That line has moved significantly. I think it opened at minus 8.5. It's all the way up to 11.5 as of this afternoon. At Georgia Tech, that's a big number, it seems to me. And maybe it could be an interesting game. I'm not entirely sure, but it strikes me as one to watch and keep an eye on in that 3:30 window. And then we move on to the evening, and the game of the week, both subjectively and objectively, is the number 5 Georgia Bulldogs catching now. Abe, you're telling me it's 5 points?
On the
line has moved all the way to 5?
Yeah, ESPN shows it at 5. I take it like the Pat McAfee show, College Game Day, and the Fox people, they're all in Austin for this? Is one of those?
I imagine
everybody's
so,
there.
Yeah. Georgia, plus 4.5 or 5 points at the number 1 team in all the land. The Texas Longhorns, the over-under is set at 56.5 points. I know the point here is not to give predictions during the best game of the week, and I have spent in now the entire time, best game in every time slot, giving my thoughts about what the outcome is going to be.
You can't keep it to yourself.
I can't do it. I can't shut up. The last time Georgia lost to a non-Alabama football team was November of 2020 against Florida. It is bonkers to me that Georgia is a 5-point underdog against Texas. Given
what part of that is bonkers about?
Just that fact that Georgia has not lost to a team that is not the Alabama Crimson Tide since the COVID season.
Yeah.
And everybody is decided that Texas is going to kick their ass this week. Well, go look at Texas's schedule.
Yeah, it is interesting because they really haven't had any sort of competition.
Texas beat a bad Michigan team, or like relatively speaking, a bad Michigan team. Yes, to their credit, they handled them the way that they needed to handle them, right? Like that Michigan, that score ends up a little bit closer than it should have been based on actually watching the game. But that's their best win by a mile. And then they also handled Oklahoma. Yeah. But Oklahoma does not have an offense. They went up against their 2 best wins are against 2 teams that do not have offenses, that are dreadful on offense, cannot throw the ball hardly at all. That is not what they're about to run into in the Georgia offense. Assuming that we get the Georgia offense
that's the thing.
Granted, you don't know which one you're going to get. That's true. But I'm going to pull up because I can't remember it off the top of my head, but the Texas schedule has just been bad. Texas started the year with a 52-0 win over Colorado State. Then they played Michigan. They won handily, 31-12. Wasn't terribly close, but again, Michigan has no offense. Then they beat UT San Antonio, 56-7. Then they beat Lou Monroe, 51-3. Then they beat Mississippi State, 35-13, which scoreboard-wise isn't. I mean, it's better than what we did against Mississippi State, but that was a month ago in the life of a freshman quarterback, right? So maybe that guy Van Buren has gotten better. And then they handled Oklahoma last week, and now they play Georgia. Georgia has got the better wins on their schedule, certainly in Clemson, and maybe even in the loss to Alabama is. I mean, obviously it's a loss, so it's not better than any of their wins. Right. But
we almost won.
But we almost won, right? Like it would have been a better win than any of their wins.
Well, and that would be dumb to say if at the end of the year a committee of humans didn't say the same thing.
Right.
Like it would be dumb to say, well, they almost won and it was close. But the playoff people are, when they're trying to figure out who's in and who's out and whatever, and the seeding, they're going to say, like, yeah, it's a loss to Alabama, but it was a very close, almost win.
Right. And we don't know what Quinn Ewers would have done against the last couple of people on that schedule, against Mississippi State and against Lou Monroe. Maybe they would have won 80-3 against Louisiana Monroe. Maybe they would have won 50-13 against Mississippi State. But we cannot know that because he didn't play in those games. But Ewers looked entirely beatable in the first quarter of that game against Oklahoma. Oklahoma punished Ewers with an interception and 2 or 3 3-and-outs in that first quarter. And yeah, they eventually figured it out. But I don't know why it's such a foregone conclusion that Texas is going to win this game, that it opens at whatever it opened at, 3.5 points, 3.5 points, and it just keeps moving in one direction here.
There is an update to the Georgia injury report that includes another defensive lineman, Joseph Jonah Ajonyi.
Jonyi? That can't possibly be right. Is that a Signeti?
Joseph Jonah-Ajonye. Fuck you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, he's out.
Well, next man up, as Kirby might say.
Yeah, but that doesn't work with the transfer portal anymore. Like, that used to work, and that doesn't work anymore. Next man up is not as good.
Whatever. Am I overrating the Dogs' chances? Abe, I don't know what your pick is going to be in this game. You don't have to give it away just yet. But it feels like the narrative is entirely on Texas's side, and I don't fully understand why.
I think the narrative makes sense. You talked about how Georgia almost kind of clawed back and won against Alabama. They almost lost to Kentucky. It's not like they had like a great season. They look a little off. They had a great Clemson win.
The vibe is weird.
But other than that, it's just been a little off. Yeah, and so if you're just a neutral observer and people are gambling and betting, I don't know if maybe the line is moving because a lot of people are very bullish on the Texas Longhorns, and that's why it's kind of shifting in that direction. But it seems like Texas is a better team than Georgia, so it doesn't surprise me that. And they're playing at home. It's not.
We'll see. I don't know.
The spread is not that surprising.
I don't know that it seems like Texas is a better team than Georgia based on what has happened on the field so far this season. I guess, obviously, we will find out in fucking 72 hours or whatever. But
I'm just glad we're not playing Alabama again.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, anybody but them.
It's just when I was trying to watch the Comet, the Basics were there, our neighbors, and Steve was like, "How do you feel?" And I was like, nervous, but not full of dread, don't want to play nervous like I was with Alabama. So it's nice. Football.
It'll be a fun game. And I don't know, again, sometimes you talk about what would surprise you. It would very much surprise me if, it wouldn't surprise me actually if we won by 2 or 3 scores against Texas. I would be more surprised if we have a first half repeat of what we had against Alabama. If we go down 4 scores in fucking 15 minutes, that would shock the shit out of me, and it would be very, very annoying and frustrating, and I would be mad. But it would also be very surprising. I would not be surprised if we won by a couple of scores. On the other hand,
That would shock me if Georgia won by a
You
couple.
would be shocked if we
be
won by a couple of scores?
Shocked. There's a better chance that a
wouldn't.
meteor will hit us tomorrow than that.
A better
Hey,
chance
that's
that
a weird thing to say.
Wow.
There is no,
Man, I feel even better now. Abe thinks we've got zero chance. Things are looking up. All right. Also in that window, check out LSU -2.5 at Arkansas. That, I think, could be a very fun game because Arkansas has been sneaky good this year. But for that loss that they suffered in overtime to Oklahoma State would certainly be ranked, and we would be talking about them in a much different way. I mean, the win against Tennessee obviously was good. They took a tough one against Texas A&M, and so now everybody thinks Texas A&M is going to win the national title or something.
And it's at Arkansas.
Right, and it's LSU at Arkansas. If it was Arkansas going to LSU, I would say Arkansas probably doesn't stand much of a chance. But with LSU coming off of that big win against Ole Miss last week and going on the road to Arkansas, I think that could be a fun game.
Which we won't watch because we'll be watching our game.
We'll be watching our game, but this is a good
Yeah.
evening window. There's also Kansas State, 17th team in the country, -3 at West Virginia. West Virginia kind of shit the bed last week, much to the former president's chagrin. But I think that could be a fun game, bounce-back game for West Virginia, possibly an important game in that conference. And then also at that time, we have Kentucky traveling to Gainesville, giving up 1.5 points to the Florida Gators, which is a game that for 30 years was not competitive and
Hello, little
has,
children.
in just the last few years, become more competitive. Going to bed? Good night. All right. And then in the 10 o'clock window, there's not too much.
No, we're going to be, you at least are going to be way too drunk to watch any more football.
You talking about me?
Yes.
What makes you say that?
History? The past 3 weeks?
Yeah. We've been having a good time on Saturday
We've been
nights
having
lately.
a lot of fun, but you need to pay attention to your drinking.
The problem, I think that I figured out where I've been going wrong. I think I figured
too
out
much drinking.
where I've been going wrong. I've been starting with a particularly high gravity beer.
Yeah,
at the
I
at the
agree.
start
I
of the
think
night.
that's what it is.
And it's like, because I can drink, I know myself. I can drink whiskey basically all night.
Well.
And yeah, I'll get drunk, but like, I can, like, I'm fine. Like,
I
it's
have
not
the same thought.
It's not
I think
weird
it's that
at
high
all.
gravity beer.
I'm starting with the first hour is this 9 or 10% high grav beer,
Yeah.
and it doesn't hit me at all because it's a
It
beer.
like takes a minute.
It takes like an extra hour for the beer drunkenness to kick in, and so I'm like 2 whiskey drinks down before the beer.
And then you're too drunk to know what you're doing,
right
and you stop
before
measuring
the beer
your
drunk
drinks.
catches up with me, and it's like, oh, fucking, who knows what's happening? And I know it's a little bit like Adam Carolla's old thing about like you wake up the next day after a night of drinking and you're shitting and puking your brains out,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, it must have been the burrito I had before we went out. But I'm fairly certain, like, if knowing all of the different variables, that it's starting my night thinking I'm like pacing myself.
Yeah, that's the problem. You're like, oh, it's beer,
Right.
no big deal.
In my head, no problem. But then it's just not the way to go. Do not start with the high gravity beer. Start instead with the hard liquor. I'm sure
Start with
things will be fine.
Your coffee drink.
Yeah. Oh man, that could be a fun segment on the show. Is when I tell people what to drink.
Yeah. It'd be like pairing like wine with food. Like, oh, this game you need some
That's
Goldschlager
the best
for
game in
this
every
one.
time
Yes.
slot, and which drink to drink during
Yes.
that best game in every time slot. It's very good. Anyway, 10 o'clock window, UNLV at Oregon State and TCU at Utah. I guess TCU at Utah is the game to put on among those two.
Yeah.
But fuck it. Put on a spooky movie or something and do that instead. It is cooling off here, finally, mercifully.
Very chilly.
It's nice and chilly out there. Get
I'm gonna
yourself
make a hot toddy tonight.
Get
Not
yourself
tonight.
in the flannel pants and the sweatshirt and maybe even under the blanket on the couch there and put on a spooky movie and enjoy your evening. It's now time for everyone's favorite part of the show when we give our picks for the coming week's games.
I thought it was the Jimmy Carter part.
I was being sarcastic. Nobody wants to hear us just give our fucking picks. It's so fucking lame. But we do it nonetheless.
Yeah, some of us don't even want to pick the picks.
I will start with Cousin Steve, who is attempting to get his way out of, he calls it the basement. We call it the caboose around here, which made me uncomfortable last week when I was discussing who is where in this train because
You're saying he's a butt.
other connotations that sort of suggests.
He's calling you a butt.
So I'm fine with switching to the skyscraper mentality instead of the train.
Attic.
So Steve is down there in the basement. He's picked 4 underdogs outright to win. Has he in cowardly fashion found a bunch of like 1-point underdogs who he is going to be rooting for? Yes, he certainly
I did
has.
the same thing.
But that is within the spirit and the letter of the rules of the game. So
I did not realize this until now. The Chiefs are, I guess they're the road dog. Wow, I did not see that. 1.5.
Chiefs are a road dog against the 49ers. And Steve, a 49ers fan, is picking against his rooting interest.
Oh, don't do that.
Also jumping
Although
off.
there's no money, so.
Also jumping off the the Darnold bandwagon, not the Vikings. That's interesting.
Steve has never expressed any apparent interest in being on the Sam Darnold bandwagon, so I'm not sure that he's jumping off.
I sensed it.
It does call into question his loyalty to cast iron balls, though, to pick against CIB hero Sam Darnold, obviously, which he has done. He's chosen the Chiefs. I actually don't know. I think that the Chiefs have skated by a couple of times this year in games that they should have lost and are probably kind of like due to have one go the wrong way for them, which I think Steve would be fine with, being a 49ers fan. So Steve's got the Chiefs. He's also got the Lions at the Vikings.
Steve's got the Chiefs. She's got the Chiefs. She's got the Chiefs.
No.
Steve's got the Chiefs.
Bills -8.5 is the other NFL game that he has. He's also got South Carolina, not plus anything. South Carolina outright in Norman over Oklahoma, despite everything that I just said 10 minutes ago. And then he's got Illinois as the home underdog against the Michigan Wolverines.
Also going against your analysis, yes.
Also, despite everything that I said 10 minutes ago. One of us is going to be right here, Steve, and one of us is going to be wrong.
Something's got to give.
One of us will be eating shit during the eat shit portion of the show on Monday. Lori, why don't you give your picks?
Because I don't have them pulled up. Hold on.
Lori's got Purdue plus 27.
Wait, no. I want to see what I did. Yeah. I think Purdue keeps it closer than that many points. That's a lot.
They will not.
Well, okay, we'll see. And then what else? Florida State, I think, will win against Duke because Duke isn't good, and neither is Florida State, but I think they can win. Arizona State, why is Arizona State not favored? I'm confused. Cincinnati?
Yeah. What's up with that?
What?
I don't know. I didn't look into that one. I have no idea.
And South Carolina, I think, can beat Oklahoma because I disagree. Because the quarterback has a cool name.
I mean, Spencer Rattler is possibly the coolest
No,
name.
it's fucking
and he's
cool,
no
but
longer at either one of those
Lenora
schools.
Sellers is 2 Edgar Allan Poe poems. And then this week, a Strands referred to the Raven.
That dude wears glasses, and he's not very good at quarterback.
Anyway, I think he's very cool.
I don't care how cool his name is. He wears glasses and is no good at quarterback.
Okay, and then I didn't want to think about any more college games, so I looked at the closest home underdog in the NFL, and it was the Steelers. So I picked them.
Smart,
says Abe. Abe, why is that so smart?
So fucking smart.
Why don't you go ahead and give your picks
so
now, Abe?
The Steelers are being coy about which shitty quarterback will start, and that's going to confuse the opposition, and they will win.
Is shitbag, dirtbag Aaron Rodgers not only getting what he wants this week, but also still a shitbag and dirtbag?
Yes.
Then yeah, I'm with the Steelers then.
I also
fucking Devontae Adams traded to the Jets, and now living with his quarterback Aaron Rodgers, according to something that I read today, while he looks for a place to live there.
How nice
in the city.
Probably has like a guest house
in New Jersey.
Boy, if you complain enough, people will just give you what you want. Like, I want out of this shithole. team, and then, all right, where do you want to go? The Jets, and then they send them off.
Yeah. All right, what are your picks, Abe?
Complaining works. To piggyback off of Lori, I'm also picking the Steelers. I'm going backwards. Steelers and Texans. I got Houston against the Packers. And then I got Mizzou -4 over the line shifted, but I got Mizzou winning.
Significant movement. That line opened at 6.5, now down to
And then the Kentucky
now down to
one
4.
too.
Right. And, so this Georgia-Texas game, now don't hold me to the line that I put in the but I will say this. This game reminds me of at the beginning of 22 or 23 when all those economists said that there was going to be a recession, and I looked outside my window and I saw all the cranes, a lot of economic activity, and I was like, there's just no scenario where that happens. It's not that Georgia will lose, it's how they'll lose. That's the only outstanding issue. Like, this is going to be a Georgia loss. I hope they keep it close. That's the
Why are you so certain here?
Because this Texas team is actually pretty good. I know they didn't play. I mean, they'll have a quality win this weekend, so we can make that argument after this, right? They will have beaten a good team this weekend, and they'll have beaten them pretty comfortably, by at least 10 points. I'm thinking a double-digit win.
You put -3,000 on the spreadsheet. So.
It might as well be 3,000. Again, this is going to be not a good showing. And again, I'm trying to picture a scenario where Georgia wins, and I just don't see it. They're not going to win.
The one where we play well.
Right, but
what are you talking? Like, there's a bunch of good players
the thing is,
on this team.
Texas will be able to score on Georgia.
Haven't been playing to their best.
Right, and this is going to be the occasion where they will. I don't see it. I think they're going to lose. It's not going to be a good game. But we'll see. I'm going to be sloshed at the Georgia bar, and I'll be rooting for Georgia, but I'm not expecting to win. And then I got FSU winning over Duke.
I'll start there. I also have FSU over Duke, which means that 3 of the 4 of us who are playing this game have Florida State over Duke.
Oh, wow.
We had all of the games on the college and NFL slate to pick from, and 3 of us landed on Florida State beating Duke, which makes me think I need to change my pick. We're not that smart.
Abe just said I was smart.
I will leave it alone there. Florida State, I've also got handling Duke on the road as the road underdog. I've also got Oklahoma minus the 1.5 at home against South Carolina. I cannot see. I know that any team can beat any team. Yes, I do not see South Carolina going to Norman and beating Oklahoma the first year that Oklahoma is in the SEC. I don't care that Oklahoma is down. This is South Carolina, and it's not the good South Carolina. It's a not great South Carolina team. I've also got Nebraska, as perhaps you could have guessed based on my preview of that game during the best game in every time slot. I like Nebraska to beat Indiana. Don't need the number. I like Arkansas at home against LSU outright as a home underdog. And I like the Georgia Bulldogs to win in College Station. I
would like that.
Not College Station.
Austin.
In
Austin, right?
the other
Austin,
place.
yeah.
In Austin.
The capital.
The Dogs have not played Texas A&M in conference play since Texas A&M and Mizzou joined the conference.
It's pretty crazy because we played them right before.
Some 12 years ago.
Really? Is the rotation that?
We played them right before. Yes.
Wow.
This is why conferences are fucking nonsense at this point. They were nonsense before the latest round of expansion.
There'll be less nonsense now.
It'll be even more nonsense.
No, we'll play them more frequently.
Who? When? How?
They're going to eventually get to a 9-game schedule. You're going to play...
When we won't play Tennessee every year? When
no,
we won't play
you're
Auburn
going to have
every
2
year?
permanent opponents. And then you're going to play
who
everybody...
Who should be the 2 permanent Georgia opponents?
They already decided this. It's Florida and Auburn.
So we're not going to play Tennessee every year?
No, we're not going to play Tennessee every year.
That fucking sucks.
So, yes, but you can't play everybody every year.
You can when you're in a 12-team league. Play 11 league games. That's how you make a good fucking conference. Anyway, Dogs are winning on Saturday. Fuck your Texas minus 3,000.
I don't
That's
love
bullshit.
your optimism or your like. I feel like you're being aggressive and that you're going to be mad when we lose.
I'm not going to be mad. I don't get mad about Georgia losses.
You do.
I don't get mad about Georgia losses. I get mad about gambling losses when it involves Lance Kiffin.
You get sad.
I get sad because my friends are mad. Like, that's often what it is.
Okay, well, just don't talk to those friends because I'm going to be just fine if we lose because there's so much other football to watch.
Yeah.
I've transcended.
All right. It is now time for everyone's actual favorite part of the show. It is time for us to go live to Plains, Georgia, where the former President Jimmy Carter will give his lock of the week.
Hello to my dear friends at Cast Iron Balls, and also to Abe. I used to really enjoy this time of year down here, Plains, when the temperature would only get up to the high 70s or lower 80s, and then dip all the way into the 40s and 50s overnight. But I gotta tell you, anytime it gets below 75 or so, I can feel the blood in these old veins start to cool, and the heart rate start to drop, and I get a chill so deep in my bones I start to feel as though I may never be warm again. It isn't quite right to say that I still actively want anything these days. I'm 100 goddamn years old. Wanting anything else would be a blasphemy after all I've been given. But to the extent that I can identify that which has kept me alive these last few years, I think it can mostly be attributed to not wanting to be cold. The colder I get, the more I want to be warm. I think on this. I just ruminate on the concept of warmth, and eventually it is so. The heart just keeps going. The brain keeps waking every morning. And here I am. I fear that my last moments will be cold. So cold.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
But under the games, Kentucky is playing Florida down in Gainesville this Saturday. And I must say, those teams are not very good at the sport of football. I wouldn't bet on either one of them to even try to win, based on the dubious late-game head coaching decisions they've made this year. The lesser Stoops punted against Georgia rather than try to win, and that dope Napier chose to go to overtime with a freshman quarterback when he could have won it in regulation. These are not fundamentally conservative coaches. These are cowards. That's why I'm not picking a winner in this game, but I am taking the under. Someone will no doubt win this game one way or another, but it won't be because of the brain geniuses wearing headsets. Give me the under at 42.5 points in this game, since neither one of those overpaid bums cares to try to win football games. As always, enjoy the games with good food and drink, and most importantly, good company. May God bless this great nation and this great podcast. Until next week, this is Jimmy from Plains for Cast Iron Balls.
I fear that my last moments will be cold. So cold.
I'm pretty sure that's a thought that crossed his mind in the last so many years. I did not know we could pick unders and overs.
We can't.
Is this
Who said that we can?
presidential prerogative? Just like he can do it. Just like
Presidential
He's the
prerogative,
fucking president,
absolutely.
Jimmy Carter. What can't he do?
If you want to pick overs and unders, you can get 5 points for those. That's fine. I'll give you that. I'll give you the Carter presidential prerogative as well. If you don't like, if you can't find 5 fucking games to choose a winner in, God damn it, then yeah, you pick an over and under. That's
no,
fine.
it's totally fine. I can pick the teams.
Guess what? I don't think it's gonna go any better for you.
No, it's not. It's
Abe.
definitely.
I'd like to see you get to Jimmy Carter's remarkable 4-3 against the spread record here so far in this season.
The thing with unders is they're just rooting against both teams.
Yep.
That is what the president seems to be up to this week, certainly. I'm in lockstep with Jimmy Carter this week on the Kentucky-Florida game. Although I have to say, I think I'd pick, if I had to gun to my head, if I have to pick, I'm taking Kentucky. Like I think I think Kentucky's going to be just fine down there in Gainesville.
This is Napier's job is not on the line, right? He's still going to keep his job no matter what happens?
His job is no.
I mean, if you don't fire him after failing to attempt at least to win that game against Tennessee last week, then you're not going to fire him this year. You've decided that he's going to ride out the year, or maybe you do it after Florida State. Is their last game of the season against Florida State? Maybe you just wait until then.
I mean, nobody cares about bowls anymore, but you beat Kentucky this weekend, you're at 4 games. FSU, that should be another win. 5 games. All they just need is one more win to get to the 6, and then I'm sure there's like a bonus in his contract.
Yeah, I don't know if there is another win on that schedule, though, and that's assuming.
You said teams that they could lose to.
They could easily lose both of those.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like why? Oh, easy FSU. Like that's football team.
Yeah.
Let's see. Florida has Kentucky this week. Then they have us. Then they have Texas. Then they have LSU. Then they have Ole Miss. And then they have Florida State.
Holy shit.
If they get to 6 wins, he should not only get to keep his job, he should get a bonus. He should get a new contract and a higher buyout if he manages to get to a bowl this year.
Man,
because
that's a rough stretch.
Bowl eligibility ain't happening based on that schedule. You've been listening to Cast Iron Balls, a podcast with Bob and Abe and Lori as well. Check out the show on Substack, brainiron.substack.com for more from us. If for some reason you did not listen to the most recent episode of Cast Iron Brains and instead are here at the end of episode 15 of Cast Iron Balls, I insist that you go back and listen to episode 211 of Cast Iron Brains, because it is the perfect example of what it is that we do here. It was a joy to record, just in terms of personally gratifying way. It was a joy to listen to on the edit, and it just very much feels like a perfect example of what I hope it is that we're doing around here, which is picking the culture apart and having a rather fun time as we do so, and also revealing ourselves to be neurotic psychopaths in the process. And by ourselves, I mean, of course, entirely me. You can also go to tetramermusic.com, Tetramer music.com, for more from Mark Gillig, who composes our opening and closing themes and who assures me that there will be a Cast Iron Balls theme sooner or later. Abe, have you got anything else for us tonight in terms of sports-related content?
Yes. Nick Chubb, Georgia great, wrote a piece on the Players Tribune, a cynical person made.
Is that still a thing? Is the Players Tribune still a thing?
It is, yeah. And, not to be cynical, sometimes athletes, when they write on the Players Tribune, it reads like a ghostwriter kind of helped them out. And I don't know if that's what happened here. Who knows? It doesn't matter. But he was recounting his...
Does this read like a ghostwriter helped him out?
It does, but it reads very much like it. But if you...
Are you assuming that Nick Chubb is not capable of such florid prose?
There's a certain format that the ghostwriters of this... publication use. It's very similar. It all sounds kind of the same, but if you get past that,
there's definitely a house voice over there at the Players Tribune, which, in theory,
that could just be an editor.
It should be the place with the least house voice out of any national media publication, right? Because it's supposed to be written by the players.
Yeah. But he was right. He's basically recounting his comeback from his injury. And he was comparing it to the first time he got injured when he was at Georgia, and how much of a out-of-body experience it was. Basically, he gets injured, and he doesn't really appreciate how bad it is until not only are his teammates saying, the way that they're behaving, the opposition, they're on their knees, and then when he gets to the locker room, he gets so many text messages from people. And he's like, how bad was it? And then the first time he watched the video to see, holy shit, that leg is fucked. And he learned from that mistake, and he did not watch it the second time. But it was a similar experience.
Abe, over under 147 times that you watched Nick Chubb's leg turn the wrong direction.
I watched those videos appropriately. Once, maybe twice. You think I'm sitting there?
I watched it 0 times.
I don't believe you.
You think I was just watching?
I was at work. and heard it sucked and didn't look.
Yeah, but it's at least reassuring that like he's not. Thank God for the human body and the adrenaline or whatever protects the feeling, all of it. But like he was just like he didn't actually experience it as that bad. He was just thinking about like the second time it happened when it was Cleveland. He was just saying like my career is done, and basically this was like a thank you Cleveland, like you guys had my back, or that's the gist of this article, basically recounting him growing up in Chubtown and going to Georgia and all that stuff. He kept all of the offers when he like a bunch of schools were giving him scholarships. Like he received so much that he put it in like a garbage bag, and then he still has it to this day. Like just all of the different offers. He always wanted to go to Georgia, so it didn't matter. But like he still has all of the offers. But it's a pretty sentimental piece. I would recommend you read it.
But he is coming back, right? It's not actually a goodbye letter.
No. He's thanking Cleveland for basically his agent told him that like the front office, they were like, we're bringing you back because the city loves you so much. Like basically, it's like if it was like any other type of relationship, they would have made a business move and they would have just cut him. But they did not, and he wants to say thank you to the Cleveland organization. But
so he's done playing football.
No,
but he's not done working.
No,
for
he's
them?
he's coming. But
he's starting this
football.
week, right?
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
I should clarify. Yeah, he's thanking them for sticking by him, not that he's retired.
Got it.
Yeah. He thought they were going to cut him.
There's not a surer bet in all of football for a dude who blows out his knee that he's going to work his ass off to come back than Nick Chubb. He's a fucking monster, and
but he's sweet.
He was saying like how quiet he is.
He's a monster in terms of fucking work ethic and dedication and fucking composure and physicality.
He had some crazy football coach like that he still kind of like trains with, but like he just made him work out so much, and he's like a pretty crazy guy himself when it comes to working out. But like he's otherwise quiet from everything you hear. Very modest fella.
Yeah, Nick Chubb is
he's like the best.
The last great Georgia back at this point, right? Like there's nobody since Nick Chubb who you can say belongs on.
That was a good stretch run though. They had Marino, they had Gurley, they had Chubb. There were a lot of good players
for me in my
Nick and Sony.
For me in my time at
Sony
Georgia,
Michel
it's
great,
just Gurley and Chubb. I mean, those are the two. I don't think you can put anyone else. No, Sean was a fine back. Yeah. He was a good Georgia back, but I think it's Gurley and Chubb, and then it's everybody else after that. And it's such a shame that Gurley couldn't stay healthy in the NFL. Watching Gurley at peak Gurley was unlike watching anyone else that I've ever seen as a Georgia fan. Chubb is obviously a different sort of back. Chubb is just a fucking 18-wheeler out there, fucking running dudes over. Gurley was special. Lori, have you got any sports-related content you wanted to share tonight?
Virginia Tech was up 28-0 against Boston College, and now it looks like they have it under control again. But Boston College caught up to 21 points. Okay, now it's Virginia Tech scored again.
Okay.
You said you had actual other content earlier.
I mean, it's whatever. It doesn't matter. There's a client of mine who's very interesting older lady from Mississippi. And she's a Mississippi State fan. She grew up around there and I think went to school there. And we were just talking about this fun football season. And I said, remember when Vandy beat Alabama? And she said, yeah, that's the kind of thing, like, it's a big, we were talking about how, like, if Vanderbilt can beat Alabama, all bets are off. Like, anything can happen this season, you don't know. And she said, it's the kind of game you just remember. And she said, I remember when Mississippi State beat Alabama in 1980. I was there. It's just very, it just was very sweet. In 1980.
Abe, I want to update the NFL scoreboard for you.
Oh, yes. My bet is looking good.
It's currently 19-3. The Broncos have a significant lead over the Saints.
Should not count out Bo Nix. My mistake.
With the ball on the 5-yard line. The opponent's 5-yard line, to be clear. With 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. So, not looking great for
Rattler
for your
has 89 yards. Wow, terrible.
Who could have possibly predicted that Spencer Rattler would not be an adequate NFL quarterback? Abe, have you got anything else for us tonight?
Nope.
Well, I guess that's all we've got for you tonight then, and we will talk to you next time.
Later.
I meant to mention this earlier, and I didn't. Shohei Ohtani is 0-for, like 0-4 coming into tonight's game in the playoffs, unless people are on base. In which case, coming into tonight, he was like 7 of 9. 7 of 9
Wow.
with people with runners in scoring position, with the bases empty, 0 for 20 something.
That's a remarkable stat. Wow.
Going back to the beginning of September, Shohei Ohtani, 17 of his last 20 when runners are in scoring position.
Wow.
When it is utterly impossible to get hits in 17 of 20 at bats with runners in scoring position, and otherwise, like, fucking not be able to do anything. Tonight, he's 1 for 1 with a home run and 3 walks. Okay. So he finally broke the 0-for with nobody on base streak, I guess.
That is remarkable.
But to go 17 of 20, to hit 850 with runners in scoring position over the course of 6 weeks is like, it's too insane of a stat to keep in my head. Like, how is that even fucking possible?
That's remarkable, yeah.
You're basically perfect with runners in scoring position in a game where hitting 400 is essentially unthinkable.
Right, yeah.
Unbelievable.
And he's going to go back to doing both next year?
I don't see how he can do actually both next year. Like, if this is the offensive production that he's able to put up, like, I don't know. Pitch him once every 10 days or something. Don't pitch him every 5th day. That's crazy. You might be giving up too much if you're pitching him that frequently.
What a talent,
anyway.
Man. Better than Babe Ruth, like I always say. This guy.
It's just it's something else. Like, it's not baseball. There's something else happening there. It's crazy.
Do they measure the how quickly they can process information? Like, Barry Bonds apparently could, like, I mean, that's, I guess, what hitting is, like, at the major league level, being able to kind of assess the situation and respond so fast. He must have that in spades.
Yeah. Well, fucking Japanese with their fast twitch fingers and the video games and all of that, right?
See, it's not a waste of time. You could become an Ohtani. All the video game playing.
Anyway. All right.
Good night.
The proceeding was created with 100% human content.